Click the link in the description to get the best possible price on Manor Lords while still supporting the developers. Use code Manor Lords on Games Planet to support the channel. Manor Lords is a fantastic game with so many quirks and details, but there are plenty of things that I have recently discovered that, well, I think would be fun to share. These are things you might not know about Manor Lords, and some tips and tricks. When people are starving in an area, such as this one, they will walk around holding their stomachs. Oh, I feel horrifically bad. I mean, they've got meat. They're fine. They seem happy enough. Oh, poor lads. You go in and sort yourself. Oh, he's a retainer. I think he lives in this manor. Going into new regions, for example, this middle one here, you will notice that there are some broken down areas. Oh, a destroyed windmill. Granary remains. We can repair these, and our men will set to rebuild. You have to make sure that this is not on pause, by the way. When I was trying to rebuild them, pausing the buildings was automatically on. Make sure that's not on, otherwise they won't rebuild said things. But it's nice. It takes fewer resources, and they're normally in an optimal place as well. Infertility. And no, this is not a personal subject to me. This is about the way farms work within Manor Lords. You see, there is a lot of issues when it comes to farming when, like me, you have pretty infertile areas. Emma fertility, okay, we've got a tiny bit over here. But other than that, where are we going to put wheat? What about barley? Okay, well, we can't be growing any barley. Rye is good, but, you know, rye actually takes an upgrade to get to that point to start cultivating rye. So what can we do? How can we get our food up, especially in the early game? Well, what I decided to do was to hack a little bit of the farm system. So when you're building some of your lads and you're trying to increase the population size, for example, a burgage plot, we can decide if we want more burgage plots or more area in the backyard. For example, let's do the standard and we'll build that many there. Now, of course, they'll all start to be built, as you'd expect, with oxen, with unemployed people, much like real life. As they start to get built up, we can see we can put in extensions here. We can have chicken coops, we can have goat sheds, and we can have vegetable gardens. This is in our level 1 burgage plot. We can obviously get all the other stuff, but we're only going to be looking at these ones to start with. We need crops, and we don't have the fertility. If we put in chicken coops, great, we'll get eggs. If we put in goat sheds, we'll get hides. But if we put in vegetable gardens, well, this is how we start to get more crops. You see, vegetable gardens are special. Unlike chicken coops and goat pens, they will actually be expanded based on the size of the back garden. So, we've got a vegetable plot that big. What if we want a really big one? This can be taken to its absolute limits as well. As you can see, I have horrifically long farms, but be aware they can only be planted within winter time, so most of the time you're not going to be filling all these farms up anyway. I think there probably is an optimum amount. Even this one's too big. I think I've gone a little bit crazy with this as well. But it's working because 500 vegetables just because of all these farms of different sizes. Anywhere from the small little ones to the longest vegetable farms you could possibly buy. Not only this also works with apple orchards. Be aware though, apple orchards take a lot longer to have return on investment. If you're struggling to grow your population, look at your approval. Make sure they always have entertainment and, of course, their food, clothing market, and a lot of churches with a good amount of level. It's a really good way of growing your population. And as you can see, making upgrading your churches is pretty easy. And it gets you a lot of population very, very fast. I'm currently on a high population growth because I've ticked nearly all the boxes. Lack of entertainment. Yeah, well, that's kind of because the tavern's always empty. Because there's no fertility here. You may know that terrain is going to be playing a big part within your battles in Manor Lords. Trees make archers almost useless, and their effectiveness is lowered hugely when using them, or when within them. Archers have also been nerfed massively in the full release of the game, hence why, well, I've kept mine at home. Also, a fully upgraded retinue can take on many, many units of bandits. They probably could have taken all these guys out on their own, actually. If you wondered what the point is of levels of buildings, they go a little bit like this. Level 1 buildings have your thatched roofs. They can put in basic things such as, well, vegetable gardens, so on and so forth. Upgrading them to level 2 will mean they'll start to generate regional wealth, which can be spent on food, trade, so on and so forth. They can also then start to be turned into Fletcher's workshops or blacksmiths. Level 3 buildings, however, mean that they unlock, and level 3 civilians can put on things like armor, helmets, so on and so forth. So, for example, these troops are militia of this area. If we start to rally them and everybody comes out, they'll come out the level 3 buildings and they will have equipped chainmail, helmets, and much better armor. So people that live in level 3 buildings, if you give them armor from crafting in blacksmiths or trading, will be much better fighters than people that live in level 1 buildings. Okay, you guys can piss off now. I don't need you. Another tip if you're struggling with fertility is to utilize a little, I guess, bug. If we want to place down a field, we can use this Emma fertility area. It's green, but there's some better Emma fertility here. What if we just sneak through a little bit? And this way, we're going to get better wheat percentages than if we just use this area. You are able to go across the borders with farms. Now, how far exactly, I think, is still to be seen. The roads block off a lot of them, but it looks like you're able to do quite a lot of cheeky stuff. As far as I'm aware, it works going into your own other regions and even some neutral regions. I'm not sure if you can go into enemy regions with farms, though. As we know, trading is a fantastic way to get some money, and you can get a hell of a lot of money very fast if you know what you're doing. The best way to do it is to use the terrain to your advantage. Here are the trading posts. Everybody that does any exporting has to pop them here in order to get some money. So why not put your trading post as close to it as possible? What do we have a lot of? I think we could probably spare some eggs. Okay, let's go in here. Trade. Let's export some eggs. Want to keep a maximum of 250 eggs. Everything else, they will trade. Establish a trade route. Brilliant. So, let's see how fast it is to start trading lots and lots of eggs. Of course, they still have to stock up, but once everything is stocked up, the actual exporting progress and gaining money is as fast as it humanly can be. More money has come in, more trading has been done, more money has come in. Oh look, we're buying lots of honey. That's very sweet. The actual speed that money starts coming in once trading commences is just insane. You can see we're actually exporting boots here. Probably going to be doing bows soon. And our money's going up very, very fast. Because all they have to do is go from one place to another. And if you have certain people bringing the trade to said trading posts, and then some people can just sit with carts, which I have plenty of livestock that are working on this. 392 from just that one trade. 195. Incredible amounts of wealth are coming in incredibly fast as well. Okay, I kind of want to build a road across here. Maybe. Actually, that's not quite in the right place. How do I get rid of it? Well, if we click R, we can bring up the road angle version. And then we can hold Alt, click on a road, and just remove said road. Early on in my Manor's gameplay, I made big mistakes of huge farms that just wouldn't all go through the process. They'd be sown and they'd grow about half the amount they needed to before they could be harvested. Now, the best way to do farms is smaller but more of them. I started off with one farm here and I started to place more as my population grew. Now I have a lot of people working in my farmhouses. You might notice I have 2 farmhouses. Why do I have that? Well, to be as efficient as possible. If we look down in our advanced and our limited work area, we can now scroll wheel, hold control and scroll wheel, and make this farmhouse only work there. So this farmhouse, everybody working on it, will work in one area. They will disregard all these other farms, which are being taken care of by these guys. In fact, I do need to make sure that they're using this area as well. And you can set a certain amount of farmhouses for certain fields to make sure they all get sown, all get harvested in the right amount of time. One of the most prestigious resources is influence. This is what you need to call in order to conquer territory. And it's one of the main reasons that I can't conquer my less territory, because I don't have enough influence. So how do I grow it? Well, the best way late game is through churches. You can grow it by upgrading towns, by putting manors down, and by building and upgrading churches. As you can see, I have multiple churches, and they gave me a good amount of influence. But at this point in time, there is a limit on them. I don't know what it is, but you can have about 1 or maybe 2 churches per region, but you can't just spam them. I did try it, and it's not possible. So my best bet at this point is to start new areas and putting down more manors, upgrading new settlements. Because, well, I have plenty of space. So to do that, all I have to do is go into this area, go over here, go in here. I've got plenty of money, so I can give them a lot of resources in order to start their new settlement. One thing you might notice is if we head down here, we've got a communal oven, but nobody is working on it. There is actually some flour in it. Maybe I should put someone in it just so we can get rid of that flour. But it is not the best way to start making bread. With our upgrades here, we can see when we get to a certain level, we can decide to put in a bakery extension. Now, bakery extensions are so much more efficient than anything else. The communal ovens are good to start with, but if you can convince a few of your guys to become dedicated bakers, you are going to be making so much more bread than you ever would just by using communal ovens. I would go down that route more than anything else. Look at these lads. This is actually my main bakery here. Just a shame my farms aren't doing too well at the moment. It's not harvesting season. Yes, I do have 2 units of mercenaries just sitting here. I have so much money that I can afford to just make them sit, because they will every now and then disappear. And I want to keep some mercenaries around, you know? To start Manlords, you should pretty much go in the same order each time. Build some areas for roads. Then what you're going to want to do is instantly put down your storage of granaries and storehouses and make sure they get put up ASAP. You're really going to want to make sure everybody is covering their food, because as soon as you start to lose these supplies, you're going to be in big trouble. You don't want to risk losing anything, so make sure you get them all properly sorted. Assign someone on the granary. They will take a couple of seconds to put all the bread in. This is another thing of rotating workers as well. It is incredibly important to be doing so. The same with a storehouse. The granary has now put everything they need to within said area. So you can now unassign them and get them working on what's next. And that would be your logging areas. First of all, let's start with a log cutter's camp. Let's start with a wood cutter's lodge. And of course, a saw pit, which we don't have enough goods for at the moment, but that should come very soon as we start logging. Now, the number 1 tip I give everybody when they start is make sure you get another hitching post up as soon as possible, because ox are paramount in the early game. You can upgrade these hitching posts, but you need planks. We don't currently have a saw pit built because we don't have enough resources. So let's just build another one, and let's bring in another ox. These need to be used in order to drag around tree branches. So if we're cutting down a lot of logs to start with and building at the same time, actually getting enough ox in place in order to drag around these logs is going to take a while. And with one, it just isn't enough. It's fine, but it doesn't do the job as efficiently as I think most people need. And then from that point onwards, you can start thinking about expanding and growing your houses. And with 2 oxes in place, you can then start thinking about getting some homes for your little laddies. Make sure you're collecting berries way before you start putting hunting lodges down. Hunting can wait till winter. Berries are a seasonal deposit, meaning as soon as the snow comes, the berries will go. This also means when it gets to winter, you can take people off working on berries and they can go and start hunting or something of the like. One of the more important things that you're going to need later game or mid game is this forester lodge. They will start replanting all the trees that your woodcutters and your loggers start cutting down. However, if needed, not that I would recommend, you can relocate buildings if needs be. But make sure you have enough resources, enough people to do it, because they will disappear said logging camp in order to move it somewhere else. Oh no, I've got a trading post and I really want to start trading some things. But why are all these things so expensive to set up trade routes? Well, I can now use one of the most OP things that is invented in the game. This. There's now nothing above 25 gold to trade. I think that's going to be taken out soon. That is OP as hell.